Good evening and welcome to the Big H podcast. My guest tonight is Mrs. Amanda Dudley. By her own admission and by what I've read so far, she is a woman of many hats. Amanda, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Great. What we usually like to do is in the beginning is send around a little bit of your biographical information,
hmm
things about your birthplace, your parents, and if you have any siblings and whatnot. So take it away.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm from Ransomville, New York, which is a small town, kind of like Hilton, farm country. It's out in Niagara County and on the lake. And so Hilton reminds me a lot of that. My parents still live out there. And I have two sisters. One lives in Churchville, and the other one's out in Wilson, New York, so near my parents. And I have my husband Brian and my son Quentin, who is in second grade at Village Elementary. So that's my
Okay.
family.
That's your family. So your parents are still around, right? Do you get to see them very often, or is it you're so the hustle and bustle doesn't allow for
Uh,
that?
I I try to see them as much as possible. It's only about a little over an hour drive, straight down Ridge Road out to Niagara County, so it's not too far. And I do get to see them uh, frequently. Not as
Okay.
much as if they lived right nearby, though.
Right. Right. I don't know. Before you made your way to Hilton, are there any other locations that you found yourself in?
Yeah. After I went to Wilson High School, and after high school, I came out to the Rochester area. I went to Roberts Wesleyan College, and so that's kind of what brought me out here. That's in North Chili. And so after college, I decided to stay in the area. I really liked Rochester. I had met my husband, Brian, in college. So I decided to stay out here. And right after college, I lived in Chili. And then after we got married, we moved to Spencerport and we lived there for 10 years. And then after my son Quentin was born, we decided we wanted a bigger house with some more land. And then we found this house in Parma. So we've been out here for, I want to say it's like about 5 years. Uh, and we totally gutted the house when we bought it. So it took us 2 years, well, about a year and a half probably before we finally moved in. And so I really do love it here in Parma and Hilton.
So you said that we gutted the house. Does that mean you and your husband did all the interior work yourself, or did you have people helping with it?
We did most of it. We had a contractor that kind of oversaw the project, but my husband, being self-employed, was able to kind of take some time off and do most of it. He's very handy, which is very helpful.
Hmm.
So yeah, the house was in rough shape, and we gutted the whole thing. Kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, ceilings. I mean, it was a shell when my parents came out to see it, and I think they were a little scared at what we had taken on at first. But we just knew that this was the house for us, and so we made it our own.
And so you said you got some more land. How much land do you have on this property?
We have 4 acres.
4 acres.
So when we were in Spencerport, we had a little under 1 acre. We were right on Union Street, so it was a pretty busy road. And I wanted to get away from, having a young son. I kind of wanted to get away from being on a main road like that.
Hmm.
And having, we had a dog, so having more space was really great for us.
Gotcha. Now you said a little bit about growing up in Ransomville. Talk to our viewers, listeners, a little bit about your kindergarten through sixth education. What was that like?
Yeah, so I went to Stevenson Elementary, which was in Ransomville. And Ransomville is a very small town. I mean, it's smaller than Hilton in the fact that there is one street light and that's it. So there's like a Four Corners area and then it's just farmland. So they had a small elementary school that kind of reminds me of the community center in Hilton a little bit, except for it was just one floor. Uh, and so I think that school was maybe built in the 30s or 40s. And it was kind of, we were already outgrowing it when I was in school. So we actually had one of those modular buildings. I don't know if you've ever seen those. It's kind of like a trailer where
Mm-hmm.
one of our sixth grade classes actually had to walk outside and walk to the trailer to actually have class.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was small. And then when we went to elementary through sixth grade, and then in seventh grade we were all bused to Wilson, which is the town next door, and that's where the junior and the senior high school is. And then since I've left there, the population has actually decreased a little bit. So they closed that elementary school, and they're turning it kind of into what our community center is in Hilton. So it's a bunch of, there's a daycare in there, and then there's a bunch of other spaces for businesses and things like that. So I'm glad that they're still using that building. Yeah, I hate to see it not being a school anymore, but I'm glad that it's still
Mm-hmm.
being used.
I hear you. Now, when you were going through high school, how big was your senior class? What was the culture like in a small town like that?
Yeah, so the class was very small. We had about 100 students when I graduated, and so that was in 2001. So that, not too long ago. And the class size is about the same today. So it was very intimate. I mean, you knew everybody in your class. Uh, and a lot of, people were, like I said, it was a big farming community. So there was a lot of people in farming. And then if they weren't, there was a decent drive to anywhere that people had to work. So, a lot of people would go into like Lewiston or even Niagara Falls to work in that. So, and that's where like my grandparents are from, North Tonawanda and Niagara Falls. So those were kind of the bigger areas and what you'd call the city, but that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even anywhere near what I would consider like a city. Rochester's much bigger, and even Niagara Falls is minuscule compared to like Buffalo. So it was a
Okay.
very small area.
When you were in high school, what interests and hobbies did you have?
I was in music was one of my big hobbies. So I was in the chorus and I was in the band. I played the trumpet, but I gave that up in college. To be honest, I was
Mm-hmm.
never really that great, but I had fun and I liked it.
Right. Right.
I was better at singing than I was at playing the trumpet, but I got to meet a lot of people and have a lot of friends, and we got to travel too. So we um, we had competitions. We went to Virginia Beach one year, and and um, we went to Hershey one year. So in Pennsylvania. So we got to travel around, and it was fun. And then I was in elementary. We had a marching band, so we would always be in the parades for that. And in high school, our chorus was pretty well known in the area. And again, we did a lot of competitions there too. I, made area all state and stuff like that. So, went pretty far with that and enjoyed it.
Now you're being a little bit humble. What you graduated in your class number? What number was it?
I was fifth.
You
I
were
was fifth
fifth.
in my class.
Not
Uh,
bad.
but yeah, I mean, it was good, but it's a pretty small school. So, so
Mm-hmm.
but, uh, but yeah, I was in the advanced programs. I took college courses in high school so that I was able to graduate college a semester early because I got a lot of my gen eds done. So I had
Okay.
advanced math and science and language and things like that. So I got to skip all those things that other
Mm-hmm.
students had to do in college for their gen eds.
What were some of your early jobs that you did? I don't know. I assume you had some early jobs before college.
Yes. So, some of my first jobs, were the typical babysitting, and I helped a farmer, sell stuff at market, fruits and vegetables and that kind of thing. But then like my first official, I would say real job was working for McDonald's in Lewiston. And I think, fast food's pretty common for most kids to have their first job.
Mm-hmm.
But So the McDonald's I worked at Lewiston was a historic McDonald's, and it was one of only a few in the whole country, uh, the McDonald's restaurant that was in a historic building. Because most of the time they build a new restaurant, right? Or take over an older restaurant, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this was in what was called the Frontier House, and it was built in 1824. And when it was built, it was for the canal. Erie Canal had just been finished and brought out to that area. So in 1824, it was considered the premier hotel west of, Albany. So there were a lot of famous people that stayed there. There was President McKinley, DeWitt Clinton, Charles Dickens. So a lot of famous people have been through that building. And then, so when it was turned into a McDonald's, we used the first floor and the basement. And because there were so many parlors in the first floor, we had like 4 or 5 dining rooms. Like we had four dining rooms, little offshoot rooms, and then we had the main room. And then you had to trek down these long stairs to the basement to go to the bathroom. So it wasn't really handicap accessible.
So, oh, sure.
Yeah. And then it was, the other funny thing was that because of the way the building was set up and the drive-through was actually backwards. So you had to drive your car in the opposite way. And so we would have to pass food to you and everything through your sidecar window. And so we had this really long basket, and we would
Mm-hmm.
like, if you were just one person in a car, I mean, if you had somebody else, a passenger, you could just hand it to them. But if not, we had this really long basket that we had to like lean out the window and give it to you and just pray that it didn't like tip over your drinks all over your car, There were a couple incidents, I will admit. But it was a really kind of cool place to work. I'm glad that I experienced that. And then at 17 years old, I became a manager. So, I moved up in the McDonald's world pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also, had some retail jobs. I worked at Tops out there. I worked at Kmart and Blockbuster. And Blockbuster I worked at in college. And let me tell you, that was one of the funnest jobs I had, because all you had to do is, talk about movies all night.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got some free movies. So that was always fun. And I think, kids today with all the streaming services, they have no idea how much fun going to the
Mm-hmm.
video store used to be.
Are you
So
a movie buff? Do you like watching movies yourself?
I do like watching movies. I admit that I don't have as much time to watch them as
Mm-hmm.
I used to. But I try to, my husband and I like to watch a lot of different shows. So we'll take at least an hour a night to watch, whatever we're into at the moment.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Now, you also said there's something interesting about that McDonald's. Didn't you mention something that it was
Oh,
haunted?
yeah, there was stories that it was haunted. Um,
Stories.
and so I never saw anything actually creepy, but like if you look online, if you Google the Frontier House, some people said that they saw things moving, that there were things that happened when they were rehabbing it and turning it into a McDonald's. Um, the creepiest thing for me was that all the supplies were in the basement. So I always
Mm-hmm.
had to, and we had this place we called the hole. And so you had to, it was just this hole in the floor that you had to kind of climb down this ladder to get all the supplies, and then you just like throw them up the hole so that people up there could get cups and all that kind of stuff. And nobody ever wanted to go down in the hole because it was such a creepy little basement. So I would go down there, grab everything I needed as fast as I could, and just run up the stairs. So
I mean,
um,
being the manager, you could have made people go down there.
oh yeah, and
You know.
I did, yeah.
All right. Now, so you graduated in what year was it? 2001 from high
2001
school.
from high
Okay.
school. Yep.
All right. And what brought yourself to Roberts Wesleyan? Just the locality or the type of
Um,
major it offered?
Yeah, it was actually the Christian education. So I had gone to a Methodist church uh, at the time, and in my youth group, one of the other kids was already going to Roberts Wesleyan. So I traveled out to visit him, and I saw the college and I saw the area, and I just loved it. And so I knew that I wanted to, Roberts is a small college, and I think it was perfect in the fact of I was used to a small community, small schools. So I just loved the area, and I loved that it wasn't too far from home, to
Hmm.
visit home. And yeah, I mean, after touring the school, I fell in love with it.
Easy decision, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's, I believe that's where you met your husband.
Yeah, that's where I met Brian. So Brian was an art major, and I was a history major, and I was in the pre-law program. And so originally I decided that I thought that I wanted to go into business law. So I studied history, and then I also took business courses. So I ended up getting a minor in accounting, and because I had all of those college credits from high school, I was able to complete enough to get 2 degrees. I got a history degree and a bachelor's and a degree in humanities, because I had so many credits. So, so I was able to do all of that. Now, Brian was an art major, so we're completely different in those. Art majors are very unique, right? But
Hmm.
I loved, what he could do. And so I actually took some art courses too. I took some ceramics courses, and again, wasn't really great, but I loved it. I mean, it was
Hmm.
fun.
Hmm.
So yeah, he was a ceramics major. And then he ended up working for lap insulators after college, which was, being a ceramics art major, that was as close as he could get to having a career, in his kind of profession. So he did that for a while. And then he ended up, finding another passion, which was gunsmithing. So that's what he does now. And now he's self-employed and doing what he loves.
Where now he's a self-employed gunsmith. Where did he get the
Yeah.
experience to do that type of craft?
He shadowed and learned from other gunsmiths. The thing with that profession is that it's really an older generation that was doing that kind of thing. So when he was always a hunter, and so always interested in that kind of stuff, but really decided to turn it into an art when he realized there wasn't that many people out there, and especially local, that were able to do that kind of a work. So he just fell in line with other people that were doing it and learned from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now you said that you had a degree in humanities.
Yes.
Because when I went to college, that was one of the it was like one of those gen ed things you took.
Yeah.
What was it like learning the humanities? Like, what's tell our viewers what that's all about?
Yeah, well, humanities is kind of, you're right, kind of everything else. So being at a Christian college, I took a lot of religion courses as well.
Hmm.
So I had enough, religion and just various other courses that were able to fall into line with an extra degree in humanities. And I figured, since I had all of this miscellaneous things that I loved, why not turn it all into a degree? So I just added
Okay.
on to the history major.
Okay. And then, did you talk about the law degree that you also got?
No. So yeah, when I decided that I wanted to go into business law, I took a paralegal certification course at Niagara Community College. And then after I graduated from college, I did not get into the law school that I really wanted to go to. So I decided, well, I'm just going to start working. Uh, and what I had at the time was I had my degrees and I had a minor in accounting, and that accounting is what got me into a career, actually, the minor.
Okay.
Um, but well, which is funny. So I did try to get into paralegal work, but it's difficult at the time. It was difficult to get into the career because a lot of lawyers wanted older people that didn't need all the benefits that I needed,
Hmm.
and so I lost out on some of those jobs. But in the grand scheme of things, I am in a much better place. So everything happens for a reason, right?
Sure does. Now explain what your better place is right now.
Okay, so when I first got out of college, I started working at a bank. I worked at National Bank of Geneva, which is now Five Star Bank, and I started in customer service. So I was opening accounts. I wasn't a teller. I was kind of like the step up from a teller. Uh, but I really didn't enjoy it too much. I mean, it became a lot more sales pushing than I really wanted to do. So I just started looking for other jobs, and I stumbled on a job for the U.S. Department of Treasury. So online, the government has jobs at usajobs.gov. And I just threw my name in the hat because I saw there was a job in Rochester. I was like, yeah, why not? I had no idea that they would actually hire me. I had no hope that they actually would. And so I was surprised because, the government can be slow. So it took months to even hear back. And then I got an interview and I was really shocked. So yeah, I started working in customer service for the Department of Treasury, and I work for the Internal Revenue Service within the Department of Treasury. So when I first started, I was, preparing tax returns and helping with customer service for low income. And I moved up from there to become a revenue officer. And from there, I became an advisory revenue officer. So I supported, the revenue officers, trained them. And just last month, I became the supervisor. So
Nice.
so now I'm in management. So I've made a very long career. I've been there for 17 years.
I'm very happy, huh?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's not my dream job because I would
Right.
love to do history all the time, but
Right.
but it's a good career, and it has allowed me to enjoy my hobbies and my passions on the side.
Good. And I think that's good transition time right now. You said you had a passion for history.
Mhm.
Um, wh- what other volunteer jobs or jobs that you did that had to do with history? I know you mentioned something about the Susan B. Anthony House.
Yeah, so when I was in college, I started a history club, and one of the things we did was we would go around and tour different museums, and so one of them was the Susan B. Anthony House, and I kind of fell in love with it. I really fell in love with um, the stories about Susan B. Anthony, women's rights, really piqued my interest. And so after that tour, it just kind of settled with me that, I'd like to help out there someday. So when I graduated from college, I went back and for another tour, and the head of the docents, who are the tour guides at the museum, suggested that I come back and take the training to be a docent. And I thought, oh, there's no way I could do this. And she was so encouraging and so supportive. And she's like, we can teach you all that, just come and enjoy it. So I did. And I fell in love with the house. I fell in love with the, sharing Susan B. Anthony's story, especially to young girls. And we would have Girl Scout groups come through, people from all over the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just amazed at how much history we have here in this area, um, and in Rochester, that some people don't realize that the head of the women's rights movement lived here,
Mm-hmm.
and was so inspirational. And so, yeah, I absolutely loved it there. So I volunteered there for about 10 years until COVID really, really is what did it. So after
Mm-hmm.
COVID, they kind of stopped having tours for a while. And living out here in Parma, I was like, well, I'd like to get involved in something maybe more local. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how I stumbled upon the Parma Hilton Historical Society.
Perfect
And
segue.
yeah, yeah, right. So I went there for a tour at the museum. So we were in the park, I think, one day with Quentin, and the museum was open. So I decided to go in there, and the museum curator, Ken Freeman, was there. And he, gave us a tour, and I thought, wow, this is a big museum that has a lot of interesting things for a small town. And so I suggested to him, I said, oh, are you looking for docents? Because, I have experience, being a docent at Susan B. Anthony, and I would like to do something more local. And he said, well, yeah, you can be a docent. He's like, but are you a member? I'm like, no. and and he's like, well, maybe you should think about being a member. And I'm like, okay. So so I he gave me the membership paperwork, and I sat on it for a little bit, and then I eventually sent it in. And when I sent it in, Nancy Kuhn, who was the membership director at the time, she calls me up and she's like, "Oh, you have to come to a meeting." So the first meeting I went to was the annual picnic that they have in, I think it was July that year. That was in 2019, I think, because it was before COVID. So she invited me to that picnic, and I knew nobody. But she took me under her wing and introduced me to everyone, and I really I fell in love with the mission and just all the people that were involved. They were all so friendly and welcoming. So it wasn't too much longer after that, within, I'd say, 6 months or so, I was, attending more of the lectures that they gave, and they were looking for board members. So I figured, yeah, what's involved with a board member? And they were like, oh, it's not much. Just come, right. Just come and check it out. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then so I quickly joined the board, and that's been great too, being able to, really push the mission further, and really the organization, and help with it internally. So being the youngest board member, and at the time, the board member prior to me that was working the website had left. So they were really looking for somebody to help out with the website. And me being the youngest board member, I think they assumed, oh, well, she can do the website. So it was Tammy Mullen that had set up the website. And even though she had left, she generously, walked me through the process of running a website. And I am still far from an expert, but I work on it and try to update it as much as possible. And then, so I am still looking for somebody younger who is very interested and good at websites to be able to take that over for me. But the thing I am most passionate about being on the board, the project that I'm involved in, is the the Pioneer Cemetery tours that we've been giving. So the Pioneer cemeteries in the town of Parma, and we have 8 of them, spaced out, are have overall, over the years, they get forgotten, right? So they get overgrown, headstones break. So there are there's some of them have had luck with having local residents that have helped to kind of take care of them as best as they can. But the town will mow the cemeteries, but they won't fix any headstones or really do any of that kind of work. So it really falls upon us as a community to take care of these. So the Parma Hilton Historical Society, back at the bicentennial, they put up signs at all of the cemeteries and did a lot of cleanup at that time. But even since then, they've fallen into disrepair. So I had the idea of giving tours at these cemeteries and kind of raising public awareness of them, and get people interested in the stories and the people that are there, and maybe help to take care of them, and raise money so that we can help restore them, fixing stones and that kind of thing. And that idea I actually credit to Mount Hope Cemetery, because they give tours at their cemetery in Rochester. And if any of your listeners have never been there, they should definitely go. It's a beautiful, beautiful Victorian cemetery. So a friend of mine is the head of the docents over there. And so I was helping her out during COVID to help with some tours. And they also have a cradle grave program where you can go and plant flowers in these cradle graves, and they're just like plots that look like beds. And so over the years, people move away and they don't take care of them. And so that was another project that they were looking to do. So I helped out with that. And that kind of gave me the idea of doing that here in Parma. And even though our cemeteries are much smaller, we still have some great stories that we can tell, and some amazing people that are buried there. So we started the tours in 2021. The first one was at Smith Dunbar, and that's on the corner of Dunbar and North F.
Mhm.
So we gave tours there. We partnered with the Parma Public Library to set up the registration, and at that time they kind of bussed people over from the library to the tour. And so we had like 3 groups run through, and it was our first trial run of this thing, and we had over 30 people. So I thought, oh, this is great, we'll try it again next year. So the next fall we did, in 2022, we gave a tour of the Wright Cemetery, which is on Hamlin, Parma Town Line and Dunbar, so the opposite side of the town. And then so we did that. We had over 40 people at that one, and so from there I'm doing like a circle around the town. And the one we did this fall was at Sage Nap, which is on Clarkson Parma Town Line. And so we just did that in September, and we had like 50 people. So they keep growing, and the interest is there. And we've raised money at each one of these, and we are working on restoring some headstones. So we did some work in the Sage Nap Cemetery back in early September, and we're now going to be starting some work on the Hoosick Cemetery, which is on the corner of Manitou and Ridge Road. And that's that big hill, if anyone's ever driven by there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So, name some of the people that, because I know you have people portray as some of these people that are buried in the graves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Explain some of who those people are, and maybe some of the locals that did the acting.
Oh, okay. So so the people that are doing a lot of the acting initially are board members, and they still are. So we have John Foster, who's our president, and Dave Crum, who's the town and village historian, and Tom Berger. Everyone knows Tom from the funeral home. Also on the board, and Ken Freeman, who's the museum curator, and John Corcoran, who is on the board. And then we also get some local, the past couple tours, we've had some people that are local, interested in either the people that are buried there or just interested in the cemetery. So at Sage Nap, we had John Toll, who is the neighbor. He's kind of across the street from the cemetery. And back in 2006, he took it upon himself to do a lot of restoration. And he's done a lot of genealogy work on the cemetery there too. So we wanted to give him a lot of credit for all the work that he's done. And so, he also volunteered to portray a person in the cemetery. So some people dress up and portray them as if they are them, and then other people just tell the story. And so either way, it's a lot of fun.
And then obviously you've run into some other volunteer positions, media work, and even car show work, and assistant village historian. Talk a little bit about those positions that you are holding.
Yeah, so also on the board, so I help with the Hilton Wheels on Main Street car show. The board has been involved in that for some years, and Nancy Kuhn had been heading that up, and she's kind of stepping back, kind of retiring from the board, and so I agreed to help her with that program, and so that's been great. We've had a table at the car show every year, and we also do a contest for the best dressed. So people dress up in the era of their car. So, you can dress up in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and, whatever your car happens to be. And then we give out a prize for the best dress. So it's just a little bit of fun in addition to the regular car show crowd. And I think it's the only car show in the area that does something like that. So we have a lot of fun with that, and I enjoy dressing up. And my husband and I, we have a 53 Chevy. So we brought that the first year that I started working with the car show. But currently being restored. So we haven't been able to drive it for a couple of years. So hopefully we'll be able to
Gotcha.
bring that back soon. But yeah, we have a passion for cars too. We've had a lot of, well, I should say more so Brian has had a lot of cars over the years.
Hmm.
He had a Trans Am back when I first met him. We've had a Model T. We've had a lot of different old trucks, lowriders, things like that. So a lot of different things over the years, and always a fun new project. So other than the car show, yeah. So being on the board of Parma Hilton Historical Society is where I met Dave Crum, being the town and village historian. And so that always seemed to me to be my dream job. I would love to do something like that. I would love to spend all of my time doing research and sharing the stories and sharing the history. So when I met him, he is so inspirational. He
Hmm.
knows so much about the community. He's so friendly. So I reached out to him and I said, "Oh, are you looking for anybody to help you? In the office, or do research or cataloging or whatever?" And yeah, he took me right under his wing, and he's like, "Of course, I would love some help." So I started helping him in the village mostly, and helping to catalog, transcribe diaries, which I'm still doing, and it's fascinating. And working on the window displays in the community center, and then helping him with the Apple Festival and all that kind of stuff. So then a couple years ago, he asked me if I would like to be the official village assistant village historian, and of course I agreed. I would love that. So yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of years. Just gives me that official title, but honestly, I would do it without a title anyways because I love it.
What's it like? I'm fascinated. What have you found transcribing those diaries, those early on? How far back have they gone, and what have you noticed?
Well, yeah, so that's really interesting. So when I first met Dave, I told him that my interest was really in women's history, and I really wanted to, and I'm still, investigating that. I'm still trying to tie more of Susan B. Anthony to Hilton and Parma.
Hmm.
And I know she was here, and I know that some of the diaries have mentioned that they've met her. So there's a Dennis Tabor who lived on Burritt Road. He met her, and I believe that was in the 1870s. He attended one of her lectures, and then Henry Tenney also met her, and was a very which I'm still trying to tie some more pieces together as far as what how he initially met her, but he was involved in temperance, which she also was. So her first really work into these reform movements kind of started more with temperance, which was they didn't agree with the drinking of alcohol, and a lot of that came from women's rights issues and the fact that women at the time, most of them did not work outside of the home, and so their husbands were the ones that were working and had all the money. So if they were drinking, they could easily spend it outside of the home and leave the women destitute and their children. Uh, and abuse as well. So it was really a women's rights issue that she started with. And so Henry Tenney was part of the Anti-Saloon League. So I know that that's where he, met her, and he was much younger than her. So she was born 1820, and he wasn't born until I think the mid 1870s. So much younger. And he actually, I know he went to her house in Rochester, and he introduced his wife, who was at the time his fiance. So I know they had a very close friendship if they were
Hmm.
meeting like that.
Hmm.
So I'm still trying to tie more of that stuff together. Um, but so I've been reading those. I've read the women's Christian temperance groups in the area. So those started way back when. I want to say like the 1850s ish. So Dave Crum had all of that stuff. And most of those are just meeting minutes, not super interesting, nothing I've really discovered yet there. But the thing was that we didn't have the Hilton record way back then. And the old ones, have burned. So we don't have anything prior to 1909, I believe is the
Okay.
earliest one. So the diaries kind of give us a window into what Parma and Hilton, well, Unionville as it was at that time, was like. I'm still transcribing and still working to figure out some more interesting facts, but it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Sounds very interesting. I think you gave me a topic for another podcast. Um, what you started a YouTube channel, and I think you made mention that um, you're starting to put lectures on there. What are some recent lectures that have been given by the Parma Hilton Historical Society?
Well, the latest one was on genealogy. So the Rochester Genealogical Society gave a presentation, and on how to like start basic genealogy research. And so we've had that. We've had the history of the Rochester Airport recently. We've had a lot of very interesting lectures, and so we decided I'm trying to think, because this started last year. So we made connections with the school district, which I believe is part and thanks to you, getting in touch with Matt Miller and the WAVE students. And so we had them come out and start recording our presentations, because there's some people that can't make it or they live out of town. And so we initially just wanted to preserve these and provide them to our members. And I decided, well, let's start a YouTube channel and share them that way. And that way everyone can watch these, whether they're members or not, and whether they're here in Hilton, Parma, or they're across the country. So we've been slowly uploading those to YouTube. And I am new to having a YouTube channel, so I'm still learning all that fun stuff. It's a little bit, it takes much longer to download than I ever thought it would.
Yep.
It's like, it takes quite a long time.
Yeah.
But as we get these videos from the students, we're slowly uploading them to the site. And so I try to share those on Facebook, every time we upload a new one, and get people to the YouTube channel and Facebook and website and all of that fun stuff. So any way that we can try to reach out to the community has been great. And the students are trying to record our cemetery tours as well. Those have been a little bit more difficult because they're outside. So I think there's a lot of, noise and that kind of concern, and a lot more editing that they have to do. But we really appreciate, all the work that they're doing too.
Sure do. A little more personal, I kind of get the feeling and the tone already. What does Hilton offer to you and your family that makes it alluring to you?
Well, I love Hilton in the fact that it's a small town. Everyone is so friendly. I mean, since I've moved here, I've felt more welcome in this town than any other place I've lived, except for maybe at home. And it's just such a great community. I mean, I'm sure there's some bad apples out there. I'm not trying to say it's perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
but everybody that I've been involved with has been really great. I mean, everyone is friendly and neighborly, and I mean, you can go to the Apple Festival, or the car show, or any of the rec department programs, the library programs, and it feels like everyone is so connected, and I really like that. The schools are great too.
Um,
Let me just say, I really, I do. I have nothing to complain about the schools. Quentin's
well,
doing
that's
great and loves it.
good to hear that. How do you think? I mean, you're busy as is, but if you had more time at your beck and call or whatever,
Mhm.
how would you reach more out to the community if you could?
If I could, I would try to do more programs. I think more tours. I would love to do more cemetery tours. It seems like every time I do one, people are like, "Oh, I just missed it," or "I couldn't show up that day." And it's so much to put together that I can really only do one a year. I would love to be able to do more than that, or do repeats. But it's a lot to bring everybody together. In addition to working and family and all that fun stuff. So it's hard to get it all in, but I would love to do more of that. I would love to get, you know, um, the website updated, get a lot more information out on there. We're working on a digitization project in the at the Historical Society, so I would like to, get that going some more so that we can share all of this knowledge with the public easier. They'd be able to log on and look at some of these documents that we're talking about. Maybe we can get some other people to help with the transcribing projects. That would be great.
Hmm.
Things like that. So, but, a lot of that is technology and time. And so, it just takes more of us. And so we're always looking for more volunteers to help with that.
How do you balance, work, volunteerism, parenting? How do you do all that?
It's not easy.
Hmm.
But the thing is that I love it. So to me, being involved in, volunteer work, and especially when it comes to the Historical Society or the assistant village historian, like those are things that I enjoy, that I would do, and I do for free.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't feel like a burden to me because it's something that I enjoy, that I want to do. Um, it's, sometimes it can be hard to fit it all in, but you just have to choose what you're going to do that day and understand that you can't do everything. But what you can do is what you enjoy to do, and what you want to do and share with the community. And so I just focus on it like that. Also, I get my family involved a lot. So they get involved in the projects that I like to do. So,
Right.
so they help me out with the cemetery tour. Brian helped with, directing cars and parking. He comes to the car show with me. Quentin comes to that too. Um, and then we also, like to do history type things outside as a family too. So we tour museums, and we have a boat, and we love to ride on the Erie Canal and take it up the Genesee River. And we've done some exploring that way. Uh, and so it's always a good time.
I think you also mentioned that your husband's a pretty good cook.
Oh, he is. Yeah. So, yes, he helps out with the duties, let me tell you. So, he can cook very well, and, dinner is his job. So, that helps me out a lot. Um,
What's his specialty? Does he have a special dish for you?
ah, well, well, as far as Christmas goes, he can make beef Wellington, and it's
Oh,
amazing. Yes, it's amazing. So, every year I'm like, "Can you make that again, please?"
okay.
I'm a basic cook, and not really a baker either, so it's good that he can do that. And yeah, and so, you know just in all seriousness, we do share a lot of household duties, which is great. And I think, the younger generations, more men and women, are doing that type of thing,
Hmm.
that all of these
Correct.
duties should not be on the woman.
Hmm.
uh, and so it really makes our household work well, and so we both get to enjoy our passions evenly, which is great.
And I think here's my last question to you. What are three words that you would use to describe Hilton?
Okay, so I would say neighborly, uh, tranquil, and that's calm and quiet, and countryside, and I would say community.
Would you put them in any sort of order?
I would say community first,
Mhm.
and then neighborly, and then tranquil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda, you've really opened my eyes to a lot of other topics that I look forward to talking to you about in the future.
Oh, good.
Anything else you'd like to add for our viewers?
No, not today, but yeah, I look forward to talking to you again. This has been great.
Okay. How about places that they can find you? You said the YouTube channel,
Yep.
and
So yeah, so our YouTube channel is Parma Hilton Historical Society. If you just Google that on YouTube. And our website is parmahiltonhistoricalsociety.com. And then our Facebook page is Parma Hilton Historical Society and Museum. So they can find us there. And then they can also email me from there. So on our website, we have our email account. And so that's parmahiltonhistory@gmail.com. And so looking at any of those things, we'll tell you about our future events. And you can reach out to us with any questions, and I respond to all of those in a timely manner. So look forward to
That's great.
talking with you.
When you're not hunting down people for money from the IRS.
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, I
That's
am.
okay. That's all
So
right.
yeah,
You
I
wear
don't want.
many hats.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, Amanda, it's been great getting to talk to you tonight on the Big H podcast. And I'm titling this episode Dialogue with Dudley. And we'll look forward to talking to you real soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right. Goodbye.